Hey guys, Greg here with my third video of my YouTube superstar career. I wanted to do a long-term review of the Vivobarefoot Hydra ESC. This is marketed as a swim run shoe, I guess kind of for triathletes. But I really like to use this type of shoe as a hiking and trail running and even just casual use shoe. And I found that it worked pretty well for that. I feel like when you're hiking, you can either go one of two directions. You can either get a Gore-Tex shoe and try to keep your feet dry, but then you have to be really careful not to let your feet get wet at all, because if they do get wet, then the shoe is going to take a really long time to dry out. Or you can go with something like this, which has a lot of mesh and not much to it, so that your feet do get wet sometimes, but then they dry out pretty quickly. And that method's worked pretty well for me, so that's what I like to do. Yeah, this shoe has a Michelin sole on it, and then the upper is kind of a combination of mesh and some elasticy stuff in the tongue, and then I guess rubber that's maybe laminated onto the mesh to beef up the shoe a bit. I originally had a different set of Vivobarefoots that I started with. Well, I should preface that with I was traveling for a year, and so I was doing a bunch of hiking and trekking, and even when I wasn't doing that, I was still putting a lot of miles on my shoes, just exploring cities and stuff like that. And so I had another pair of Vivobarefoot trail runners, and those wore out pretty quickly. I was, putting in a lot of use, but they lasted me about 3 or 4 months before the tread really started kind of to wear out, and the rubber at the toe here started to separate and chip a little bit. So I wasn't super impressed with the durability of those. But when I was looking at new shoes, I came across a review of these that said that they were really, really durable. So that kind of piqued my interest, and so I ordered them. So yeah, then I used these for the next kind of 9 months of my travel, trekking in the Himalayas, up over 5,000 meter passes. Did a couple non-glaciated 6,000 meter peaks with these, and then more trekking down in South America, walking through swamps. So yeah, I really put them through the ringer, and I was quite pleased with how they performed and how well they held up. You can see, and then I continued to use them for another few months since I've been back. And anyway, you can see now that the Michelin sole is finally kind of flattened underneath the ball of my foot, underneath my heel a bit too. But yeah, that's going to happen after a lot of use. So these have been, I think, probably the most durable pair of barefoot shoes that I've ever had. And I think that probably your average person is going to get more than a year use out of them. If you're a heavy user, like training for ultras or something, then yeah, they might last you a year or less. Let's see, what else can I talk about? The laces on these work pretty well. Part of why I really like them for traveling is that you can just slip them on and you don't have to tighten the laces, and that's how I wore them most of the time. But then if I was putting in a long hiking day or something, then I would tighten up the laces. The laces are made of this cord, and it's kind of got a bit of like texture or almost knobbiness to it. Knobbiness is not the right word, but so it kind of locks into place when you tighten it, and that also includes you can tighten kind of different parts of the upper part of the shoe, and when you pull the cord through these eyelets, it does kind of like stay in place pretty well. So that worked really well for me. There were times where I did over tighten the top of the shoe, and then you could kind of feel the cord cutting into the upper part of your foot, which is not comfortable. So I think as long as you're careful not to over tighten it, it works pretty well. The insoles that came with them were pretty worthless. I would say that they should probably either not include insoles with them or include better ones. I used them for maybe 2 weeks before like the insole underneath the ball of my foot was completely compressed, and so they weren't really doing anything anymore. So 2 weeks for an insole to last is pretty bad. I actually ended up, for the rest of the year, I had an old pair of Lem's insoles and threw those in, and those worked really well. So if Vivobarefoot could do something closer to what Lem is doing for their insoles, that would probably be a big upgrade. one kind of issue that I had was that at times when I was walking on kind of hard surfaces and maybe after my feet were kind of sweaty, so maybe my socks were sticking to my foot more or something, I would get kind of wearing underneath the ball of my foot. And I think a contributing factor is just that with the tread here, there's not very many kind of, you know, strips of tread, and they're kind of big. And so, you know, the ball of your foot may end up right on top of one of these, or it might end up in between. And I think maybe the ball of my foot was maybe in between, or somehow awkwardly between them, and that was causing causing extra wear on the ball of my foot. So anyway, just a thought that maybe if they were able to kind of increase the density of these tread strips, maybe decrease the thickness slightly or something, that maybe there would be less of that issue. And then I think the last thing is the price. The price is really high. They're $320, 320 Canadian dollars here in Canada, which is, in my opinion, too much for it's kind of a crazy amount of money to spend on like trail runner shoes / maybe casual shoes. So, you know, I realized that part of the reason for that price is that they're trying to really experiment with, you know, more environmentally friendly ways of manufacturing a shoe, but yeah, it would really be great if they could get the price down more. I usually look for some sort of, you know, discounts somewhere online. Yeah, because $320 is pretty high. Oh, right. The other thing that I wanted to say in terms of durability, as far as the upper part of the shoe, is this here is a pretty typical high wear area. Your shoe's flexing a lot, so you get the flex wear, and then also it's a spot where you might rub up against rocks or something like that. So yeah, naturally there is a hole here. So it'd be great if Vivobarefoot could figure out a way to do that part better, probably by putting a piece of rubber there, which might decrease the flex slightly, but would greatly increase the wearability. You can see on the outside of the shoe in the same spot, which I think flexes just about as much. They do have rubber there, and there's no hole there. The rubber's maybe cracked a little bit, but anyway, it's held up a lot better. So, you know, some areas for improvement in the uppers of the shoe. Also here, as I said, this is kind of like mesh with rubber laminated on, and in between the strips of rubber here, the mesh has kind of worn out as well. And I think this is just from like flexing. I don't think it's from like abrasion from rocks or anything. So I don't know if they could put perpendicular strips of rubber, but even then, if the mesh is gone, then you get kind of rocks and sand that get into the side of the shoe. So I don't know if it seems like that's an area that could be improved a bit as well. But yeah, as I said, the outsoles were pretty great, I thought. So overall, high marks for the shoe. And yeah, so much so that I got myself a new pair that will be my shoes going forward. Again, I found these on a discount price on eBay. So if you can find them discounted, then that's great, and it makes it a bit more reasonable purchase. But anyway, I just thought I'd do a long-term review for people that were looking for a shoe like this. I would recommend them, and you know, maybe if Vivobarefoot's watching this, then a few tips for improvement for them in the future. All right, thanks guys.